All right, so today I'm going to be making some pizzas, two of them. We're going to start with a red sauce pizza for me and a white sauce pizza, Alfredo, basically, for Ivy. So we've got two doughs over here. We've also got like another 9 sitting over there, but those are pre-baked shells that I'll stick in the freezer and make later. Here's our dough. I have to get it off the bottom of this pan. And the way this dough was made was a 72-hour rise in the fridge. It was very inconvenient to have 10 balls of dough in the fridge for 72 hours, but other than that, there's not much special about it. It's just yeast. The flour was Caputo 00 pizza flour, 00 referring to the middle of the flour. Now I'm making it into the crust. We get flour on both sides. This, by the way, is the Neapolitan slap. You can punch down the middle of the dough to get the crust, or you can do this like slap, which is like very traditional and moves the air to the exterior of the crust and all that stuff, which, you know, I'm not that picky about, so we can just smash it down. You can, spin it if you want. It's fairly controlled, but I don't like doing that for like the last mile because it'll get like distended, especially if you're not very good at it. So for the last mile, generally I will just go around on my knuckles like this to stretch it out. Then once it's nice and distended, you can lay it on the pizza tablet and kind of spread it out and make it somewhat shapen. Make sure it slides. That's the slide check right there, the jiggle check. We've got one stick point there, so we'll go ahead and put flour on it. Another stick point. There we go. Okay, we're sliding. Cool. So because this is a red sauce pizza, I'm going to apply that layer. I use 2 spoonfuls, which doesn't seem like enough, but it always is. You can generally go lighter on the red sauce than you think. This in particular is made with imported Costco tomatoes. You can buy now San Marzano tomatoes in a can from Costco. They're DOP, which means something domestic export protectica or whatever in Italian, and just means that it meets the Italian government standards for what constitutes tomato sauce. So once we have that on the dough, generally I'll apply cheese. This is Kirkland's signature Pecorino Romano, which is basically like Parmesan, but it's sheep's milk. I actually like it. It's grown on me. Like, I love Parmesan, don't get me wrong, but I like to put the hard cheese at the very bottom because it generally will burn if you put it on top, so you give it that top layer of other cheeses. Speaking of other cheeses, this is just a mixture of whole milk, low moisture mozzarella. It's really good for pizzas. And the second cheese is smoked provolone. That's just because I am a dirty whore that loves smoked provolone. And then finally, I'm just making a pepperoni pizza for myself, so putting on the pepperonis. This is a boar's head pepperoni. By the way, pepperoni is an American invention. It's not Italian at all. Closest thing we've got is salami. But I happen to think it's delicious, so it's going on this pizza. Once we've got the toppings on, we check for slide. Looks like we mostly have it. I'm not seeing enough slide on the back end, so I'm gonna flour up my hands and get under there. Okay, we're good, we're good. So now we're gonna move to get this in the oven. Hopefully I don't fuck it up because this is dinner. There you go. That was deft. Feel free to get the shot. Yeah, it's perfect, right in the middle. All right, so while that one is baking for 5 minutes at, I do as hot as the oven will go on a bake. So I'll bring it up to, this particular oven will go up to 550, which is delightful. Haven't set off any smoke alarms yet. I'm just gonna do 4 minutes because I took my time. And so while that one's in the oven, generally in this big process, I will be wrapping up the other pizzas I made or cutting them up depending on what I'm doing. In this case, this is the pizza shell that I was referring to earlier. So for that, we just take it off of its cooling rack. This was a gift. Again, this is just pizza dough that's been cooked for about half the time. I spread a white sauce on top of it to keep it from turning into a pita. And we just fold it up in the plastic like that. Really artisan here with my Kroger cling wrap. And then it's all wrapped up. Throw it on the stack, and you're good. So one other detail I'll mention is I really like basil on a pepperoni pizza. It is basically flavorless, but it looks really good. So that's why I add it. Now, in order to add this though, if I were to add it at the beginning, by the time it comes out of the oven, it would be a shriveled little green like squiggle. It just wouldn't be very attractive. So I'm waiting until it's done with its bake. At the very end, there's going to be, or after this bake is over, I'm going to broil it on high for about 2 minutes. And when I go to set it to broil, I'm just going to kind of haphazardly, or maybe with the tongs, toss these on top of the pizza. So they'll, cook a little bit, but not enough to lose their nice, beautiful green shape. Okay, so as threatened, I'm going to switch this off of its bake and turn it to broil and set a timer for about 2 minutes. While I'm doing that, I'm going to take these basil and surgically implant them on top of the pizza so that they are beautiful, although it absolutely fries my hand to do this. I actually did throw that basil leaf to the other side of the pizza. Nice. All right, that's good enough. And so when that's done broiling, in about 2 minutes, we'll take that out. I think it'll be pretty beautiful. So we are going to take out the pepperoni pizza that will constitute my dinner. Nice and crispy around the crust, that's what we want. Those pepperonis are nice and crisp on the edges, perhaps burnt, some might say. But there's the pizza. Let's take it over here. One man's burnt is another, well, it's for dinner. So for this, I'll add some flake salt, add some really good texture, and clearly it's not salty or greasy enough. It's mainly for the texture. I'll usually add these red chili flakes because they're pretty good. This brand is not the best. They're like flavorful chili-wise, but they're not spicy, so we can go pretty heavy on that. And then lastly, this is some Calabrian oregano, which is a little different from most dried oreganos. It's a little bit more floral, almost, but I like it, so we're adding it. And there you go. I would cut this into sixths, and we would serve it. So while that's resting, and you can just keep recording, but we're gonna go ahead and prep the second pizza.
Yay!
So for the second pizza, which is a white sauce pizza, I'm going to be paying a homage to the wonderful Pizzaiolo Murphy, Papa Murphy, and the chicken bacon artichoke. Ivy here cannot have bacon, but we are going to at least do the chicken and artichoke part of that. And it'll be pretty good, I think. So once we've floured our workstation and our hands heavily, we will get in here and extract the dough, which is usually a little bit of a fight when it gets on the corners, but I think I did flour the edge, so it should come out. Not the cleanest, but there it is. Then you flour both sides to make sure it doesn't stick to anything. Do that a couple of times to make sure you get a nice solid coating. Pound it down. Spin it if you're feeling fancy. Ooh. Okay. All right, starting to distend, so I'll do the rest of it manually by hand with my knuckles here going around on the inside of the crust. Helps get it nice and thin. You can see the light coming through. That's the age-old test for gluten development. And that gluten has been developing for 72 hours, so it's definitely developed. Now we'll go ahead and lay this on the pizza tablet. There we go. A paddle is what normal people call it, to be clear. So for the white sauce pizza, there's going to be a few differences. The main one you might be able to predict is here's some white sauce. It's kind of like an Alfredo. We're going to apply it as evenly as we can. Generally 1 spoonful of this I think is enough because it tends to kind of clump up and stay together. Even if you spread it, you can get kind of mouthfuls of garlicky, creamy goodness sometimes when you're biting into the finished product, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but if you were to lay on super thick, it would start to get a little moist. So we'll spread it out as best as we can with the amount that we have, though not all of it is coming off of the spoon. And then once we've got that kind of applied, you'll notice that I didn't put on any hard cheese on top of this, and the reason why is because it already is pretty cheesy. I mean, it's cream and Parmesan, and I just think the flavor's there, and adding extra doesn't really do much. Just the last of our, this is mozzarella and smoked provolone. We'll just kind of go around, make it kind of neat. Grab the last bits. Hey, that's not important. Unless it's going on the pizza, which I might be convinced.
No, not on the pizza.
Okay, so then, being a chicken bacon artichoke, we'll start with the chicken. Don't ask how old this chicken is, it's still fine. Just like that. And then some small pieces in there to spice up life. Then the artichoke over here, this is like jarred artichoke hearts that you can buy at the grocery store. I tend to let the oil soak out of them so they're not quite so greasy. Otherwise they get kind of out of hand on the finished product. There we go. And then once you've got those, spinach. I find it is a good addition. They'll kind of wither away on top of the pizza. All the moisture will get driven out. So they look beautiful now, but there'll only be kind of like a hint of green on the finished product. But it's better than, it helps give it a little bit of color at least. And then with that, that's it. Now the one thing I forgot to do is the slide test. And as punishment for my crimes, we are not getting a great slide here. So we have to do a little bit of last minute maintenance on the pizza. It looks like it's just sticking around the edges mostly. So we'll see if we can get away with just some minor maintenance on it. Like so. We can just flour the shit out of our hands and go around the edge. It's better than losing the pizza. There we go. Okay. We might have some lack of slide over on this end, so we'll just cover our bases. There we go. So it doesn't look super even, but it'll come out even at the end. Now we can go in here and pray that we are gonna make it work. We're gonna go like that. Oh, second try. Nice. That was a little.
You want to get the oven shot?
That was hair raising. No, we don't need to see what that looks like until it comes out. I think we're just gonna hope it improves with time. There we go. And 4 minutes is good. Okay, so we are just about there. I actually haven't checked it. So we're at the end of the broil, the 2-minute broil. I'm gonna leave it in there for the remainder of the 20 seconds. It's got really good dark patches on the cheese, which is what you want, as well as a good browning, if not blackening, around the crust. I like that. So we'll turn that off, and we'll actually turn off the oven because this is our last pizza of the night. And we will grab the finished product. Oh God. There it is. Look at that. This is pretty nice. See, the spinach doesn't shrink as much. So we put that just like there. Toppings, or I guess finishings is what we would call it on this pizza. Red chili flakes, of course, as always. In fact, there we go. Again, they're not that spicy, so we can go kind of heavy on it. Salt, just a little bit though, because we're going to be seasoning it further. And then Good Seasons Zesty Italian Salad Dressing Recipe Mix.
Fuck yeah.
I can do nothing to justify this other than say it is Ivy's preference.
You can make potatoes with just this and some
Okay,
olive oil.
yeah,
Nice
yeah.
slap.
Way to sell yourself out as a 90s mom.
Look.
So we apply that somewhat liberally. It's not that strong, so you can kind of just dust everything with it like a couple times over. It's mainly like, it's a little sweet, so it actually would not be a horrible idea to just kind of go back over the top and salt it a little bit more, because there's actually not that much salt there. All right, but then that finishes up that pizza, and we can go ahead and make an incision here. I usually do my pizzas that are somewhere between 10 and 12 inches into sixths. I think that's a good compromise. And generally the crust on these is thick enough that you can still pick them up pretty easily, even towards the middle. So that's the benefit of using a pizza steel, is you get a really good sear on the bottom, kind of like so. I mean, yeah, it's pretty solid. This rocks. That's all.